Hey everybody, Steven here. Today I wanted to talk about something that I've seen a little bit more common around the gym with other personal trainers, and that's really just that they're not training to where the client is and where they need to go. They're forcing them basically to do movements that they shouldn't be doing, right? Whether that's because of the foundational movements not being there, or they just are trying to make them do things that maybe seem impressive to the client, where they're like, all right, I saw this on this video and they're doing that, so we're going to do this style now. They're not putting in the time to create the program where, like, all right, this person is here and I've done the testing to see, all right, these are the things that they're weak in and that they need to work on here, where they're really, really strong and they're more just knowledgeable with their body in terms of these movements. And then where do we need to go from there? Where do we need to build up to? What's the overall goal? A lot of times maybe they don't know and that's not unclear, but overall I think trainers are just trying to make sure that the person's healthier and they're more functional, right? They're stronger, they have good mobility, they have a lot of flexibility, right? And they're stable, right? Handful of trainers that I've just seen around here, I'm in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where I look at it and I'm not going to just say that I'm way better than anybody else in regards to this. Like, I look at it as I used to be there also before I started going to certs and tons of workshops and doing all the different seminars and really putting myself in a position where I'm having people that are way more knowledgeable than me telling me, like, all right, this is where you're messing up and you're doing a disservice to kind of the skill and the craft of training or coaching, whatever you want to call it, right? And this happens to be different between whatever modality you have that you're going to specialize in, right? I understand that, but a lot of things that we're looking at, like I said, overall, people are wanting to, or trainers want to make their clients more functional, right? We want to make sure that they're stronger, that they can do everything that they want to in their given day without having repercussions for that, without injury, without hurting themselves, anything like that. So a lot of the people that I train, for instance, that are older, can we get up and down off the ground safely? Is that a skill set that I can teach you, right? I'm not going to make you squat below this range of motion that you have and that I know that you're not there, right? And the reason I'm doing this is because I saw somebody, they were making these clients squat down to touch their butt to a med ball, and they don't have that range of motion yet. Now, I agree with the fact that they should be able to, right? Everybody should be able to do a seated squat, minus, like, and if you've already had like a hip replacement or hip resurfacing, or you've already blown out your knees and you've had reconstructive surgery on your knees or an ankle surgery, I understand you're going to be in a different boat. But for everybody else that hasn't had an injury or anything like that, or doesn't have some type of issue where the shape of their femur isn't going to allow that or anything like that, like, let's just say average person that comes in that I know doesn't have any of that stuff going on should be able to. But let's say that it can, and it really is a mobility issue or flexibility, or maybe they just can get down there but they don't have any strength. I need to look at that and I need to actually train them to slowly get there. Not just randomly throw them into the position, because that's where we're going to have that risk of injury, right? So I looked at, and I'm watching that in the corner of my eye, I'm watching them go down and touch their butt to this med ball. Well, they're going in right into this huge amount of kyphosis. You're going to have a little bit if you're going into a seated squat and we don't have load. I get that also. But, like, they have to round just because they can't drop their butt that low, right? Their knees don't allow them to bend that much. And that really has to do with the fact that they don't have enough dorsiflexion. I look at these things now, all right, that person doesn't have enough dorsiflexion. Their hips are pretty tight. The thoracic spine, just because they're rounding so much, probably isn't very mobile as well. Let's address those things before we just try to throw them in this deep squat. And I mean that in regards to, this was part of their workout for that day, right? To me, it didn't look like there was a structured program. All right, if I'm going to do that and I have that person with me, all right, let's work on getting the ankle more mobile. Let's stretch out that calf. Let's do a little bit of soft tissue work on that. Let's address those hips. Let's get some thoracic spine openers, right? Let's get some thoracic spine rotation. Let's make that a little bit more mobile before I just throw you in that position and say, all right, we're doing 20 reps. So make sure you really understand what that client needs before you just start throwing everything at them and, like, all right, we're doing this, without the disregard or the regard to, all right, they need to really be working on these other things so that overall I can improve their movement all right, how functional they are, how strong they are. Because if a person has like that, where they're already rounding their back, they're already pulling in and doing an anterior pelvic tilt, which you do have, they call the butt wink at the bottom of a deep squat like that. And like I said, looking at the differences in those, right, that somebody's going to do to a certain extent, but where it's just way out and they just don't clearly have that position, right? They just can't get there like they need to. I'm not going to throw weight on that. Greg Cook always says, we never layer or add load on top of dysfunction. I love that quote. I always tell my clients that, right? If you can't do a really good squat, especially if it's more of a seated squat where I'm trying to get you in that position, and I'll show them as we're in that seated squat, you should be able to bring your spine upright, right? You should be able to cue those knees to stay out so your ankle or the arch of your foot isn't collapsed, right? The ankle's stable. You should be able to do all those things the second I hand you load, right? That way you can come out of that without an injury. If you're there, you're already struggling with it, I'm not going to hand you a ton of weight, right? I might start with something light just to see how you respond to that. But if you immediately collapse underneath that weight, we know we have a stability and a strength issue as well, right? So we have to be mindful of all those things before we're just throwing all this stuff at somebody. Because ultimately, my concern is if it's a trainer watching this, like, you want to make sure that you're not going to hurt your client, right? You don't want to be liable for that. That's why I'm against personal trainers doing soft tissue work on their clients if they don't have the know-how, if they're not trained to be a massage therapist or anything. Don't just start moving tissue around with your hands or trying to adjust people like chiropractors. I've seen trainers do that, and it's not in your wheelhouse, right? It's okay to send your clients to other people that are highly knowledgeable in that regard. If I can't handle a client and I deal with the medical exercise stuff, if I look at them and I'm like, whoa, you're actually beyond what I feel comfortable taking on, you're just too much, I can't handle that, you have so many issues, like it's beyond my knowledge, I have no problem sending them to either the physical therapist that I've shadowed underneath, or a buddy of mine who I consider a mentor, Aaron Bolch, who does restorative exercise, been in the industry 25 years, and he can actually take them with the restorative exercise and address whatever's going on from that aspect, and then send them back. I communicate constantly, and I send everybody to the chiropractor over at Zova, Dr. John, that I go to personally, and he communicates with me, hey, these are the things I've seen, this is what you need to work on with the program, this is where they're weak, because he does the muscle testing. I can do that to a small degree with the medical exercise, but not to his degree, and it just gives me more insight as to what's going on, and it makes me look better. It makes me look like I'm not just trying to only keep them with me. Like I said, there's other people out there that can help, and it's going to make your program better, right? So if anybody else wants to just throw out comments, I know there's this very loaded topic. A lot of people, like trainers, don't like being told that they're doing something wrong, or that their program isn't the best, or that they need to work on something. That's just, unfortunately, in this industry, trainers don't like criticism, and I get it, but that's also why I go do the workshops and the certs, because I want to be told that I'm not good at whatever, but that they can show me, and that here's how I can get there, and here's where I can improve, right? Looking at that, I know a lot of people, and I've asked them, hey man, you want to go to the cert, you want to go do that, and they don't even want to do that. Like, they don't even want to go to the workshops of the cert. They don't want to put the time and energy into doing these things, or they think they already know it. And that's just a recipe for disaster long term, in my opinion, because if you think you know all of it, I mean, this industry changes so much, you're going to end up being kind of stagnant with your own training style, right? And there's too much knowledge out there right now to do that, because as this evolves and as this industry changes, you don't want to be stagnant with your practice, right? Learn as much as you can so you can help out your clients. Figure out what they need personally, not I'm just throwing a workout at them because they're coming to me for a workout. And I have no problem with looking at online articles and looking at videos and watching YouTube videos. I do all that as well, but just because I watch the video, I also don't think that I'm an expert on the subject. I've seen that. Somebody will watch a video one time and they're like, boom, I got it. And then they'll just start training everybody on this, and I'll look at what they're trying to do, and I might know that modality. I'm seeing it. I was like, oh, I don't actually mess with that. I might do it with myself to try and learn, and I'll spend a couple months trying to figure out what it is before I even incorporate it into a program. But if it's super complex, or I just don't know what I'm doing, I won't even touch it, because I don't want to hurt myself, I don't want to hurt a client, Because if that happens, now I look really, really bad. Russian kettlebells, perfect example, right? About 4 or 5 years ago, realized I didn't know what the hell I was doing. So I've since not really touched kettlebells in terms of doing a snatch, the swing, the Turkish get up. But I have a client who's actually become a certified RKC trainer, and now she's teaching me the fundamentals of the swing. Aaron, the guy I mentioned before, he's actually RKC certified. I've had him show me some stuff. Another friend, Carmen, she's showed me some stuff where I'm actually either doing sessions with them and paying for their time, or doing workshops where they're teaching it, and I'm trying to learn as much as I can from that. I'm still not comfortable to the level where I would actually incorporate this and teach this in terms of like, hey, we're doing a swing and a snatch today with my clients. I'm not there yet. So be mindful of too where you're at, not watching a video one time and then saying, all right, I got it, I know what I'm doing, right? You have to kind of break things down and know what's in your wheelhouse, where you need to improve. Go to the workshops, go to the certifications, right? I understand it's expensive, but invest in yourself, invest in your clients, and they're going to take care of you. So I know it's a long rant, but it's something that I think about a lot. And when I see trainers that are just pushing somebody through a program, they're not even dissecting or correcting their form. They're not telling them basic cues of intra-abdominal pressure, proper alignment. Not to say that you can't have variation between that. Not everything's going to be perfect, but your job is to make sure that they're doing this correctly, that they're doing this safe, that they understand. I'm highly repetitive just because I want that person to eventually have my voice in their head telling them, all right, stand here, we have ribs down, we have, right, neutral spine, we're building that intra-abdominal pressure, we're not having forward head leaning, we're doing all of these things that we need to, that are just the foundation of any of the movements that you're doing, right? So that is my rant. If you guys want to tell me I'm wrong, or tell me that you agree with this, or whatever it is, let's get the conversation started, is really what I'm wanting to do with these kind of vlogs or whatever, so that people start talking about it, trainers start talking about it. That way we're not just murmuring to ourselves, or just crapping all over somebody because their way is not our way, or whatever it is, right? Let's meld together, let's figure out where we can improve, where we need our attention to go with what's coming next. If you guys like the video, hit the like button for me. If you want to continue to follow along with this and all the other videos and content that I pump out, hit the subscribe button for me. Thanks so much for watching.